So here we are looking at a Google form that is created for a teacher assessment of students. And I am using the question option, a multiple choice. And what is going to happen here is, as you can see in the rows, I have put the students' names, and in the columns, I have put the ratings that I want to give students. So this is the multiple choice grid, and what this will allow you to do is go ahead and list your students, say in a group or even in a class setting, and then go ahead and let you also in the columns list what you would like to rate them on, whether it's class engagement, activity. So how I have this set up here as the example is, let's say that we're going to go through a lesson. How are students engaged in activity 1? Then in my second question, how engaged are students in a discussion group? And you can use this for however you see fit for your classroom, but you could certainly make a copy of this form and then change it as classes go, or you could make it general so that each day you can use the same form and then watch how things change over the course of your classes. But it's a great way to be able to quickly gauge student engagement and discussion, especially if they're in an inquiry-based environment. So again, just really easily listing out the names of the students here. If you are doing a whole class setting, especially for middle school and high school teachers, it does take a bit of work, but once you have it set up, you can simply copy the form, then change the question, and once you have one question written, duplicate the question and the names stay the same. So you don't have to keep typing those out. You would just need to type out what your different factors are. So let's take a look at what this form would look like from your point of view once you went to score the students. So let's say that we're beginning our class. We want to go ahead and measure student engagement in the classroom. Maybe we're looking at different groups. We have our different groups listed here on the page. We're walking around the room. We have our laptop, iPad, whatever device we happen to be using. We've got our Google form ready to go. Now we're simply focused on observing and watching what is going on. We're looking at activity 1. How is Jane doing? Is she somewhat engaged? Is she mostly engaged? Now, as a teacher, you may be asking, okay, well, what does mostly engaged mean? What does very engaged mean? And that's definitely something that you have to work out in your own classroom. It's going to depend on the activity. It's going to depend on what you gauge as body language, and that's something you could put into the form. It's something you could have set aside, laminated on your desk, however you decide to work that out. It's definitely something you want to do, but you don't have to have that written out on the form. Keep this as simple as possible so that it is really click and go. All right, so we're looking at the students, we're watching how they're doing. You could even have time frames here. How engaged are the students from 8:45 to 8:55? How engaged are students from 9 o'clock to 9:10? And going through and watching how they're doing, you stop and teach. You let them go ahead and engage in the activity or discussion, and then you quickly pick up your device and you're able to gauge them. Once you're finished, you can go back into your form, look at your responses, and take a look, as we will discuss in the large group setting of this seminar, how you can take a look at the group, at the responses and the different grids. Let me go ahead, just in case someone is watching this video without being part of the class, let me just go ahead and answer some of these questions and submit the form so that you can see the different grids and scales that are created by Google Forms. So let's just go ahead and submit a couple of these. I'm going to go ahead and submit another response. You could put a date up here so that you're gauging the days, especially if you're going to use this same form over and over again, and then you would get the date on it for what's going on. You could actually put in a block as well. That's what I would do. I would put what block or class, especially if you're in middle school or high school. I'll go ahead and do a third one so we get a little bit of a range here. Okay, now I'm going to take a look at my responses. Okay, I've got 3 responses. Okay, and we can see that it's going to give us a chart of how well each student did based on each question. Not engaged, somewhat engaged, mostly engaged, very engaged. And it's going to go ahead and design a graph for each question for us. So this can be very handy. It will also give us an individual response as well. Okay, so it'll show us those responses. So that is how the multiple choice grid works, and also an example of how the response tab works. And hopefully you will see that using Google tools and technological tools for teacher assessment can be extremely useful, extremely handy, and save you a lot of time.